Hi students. At this point in the research process, you should have finished with your author's note rough draft. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about revision and what you can do to make your draft of your author's note even better. The goal for today's lesson is that I want you to learn that writing well often requires writing long. When you write long, you can write with details that bring a text to life. During your research, you should have gathered a number of different pieces of information using your anchor chart, information that writers combine. Some of the pieces of information that you should have been gathering are powerful quotes, organizations, names, places, statistics, descriptions, definitions, and explanations. We're going to look at a few different examples today of pieces of writing that include wonderful details that help bring the text to life, and pieces of writing that need detail in order to make them better. As I read the next example, I want you asking yourself, what does the author do? Students with disabilities get bullied a lot. There is a girl who is in middle school and she gets bullied. She said that last year was really hard because she had a speech impediment. People made fun of her and she got into a lot of trouble once. After reading this, I noticed that the topic must be about getting bullied, but at the same time, I have a lot of questions as a reader. Let's go ahead and take a look at an example that includes a variety of information to help bring the text to life. Ask yourself, what do you notice? The British Journal of Learning Support shows that 60% of students with disabilities report being bullied regularly compared with 25% of all students. Michelle Mills is a special needs student who goes to William Cullen Bryant School. She suffers from something called a speech impediment, which is a type of communication issue where normal speech is disrupted because of things such as stuttering, lisps, or long breaks in your words. Although Michelle is now in 7th grade and states that her speech issues have improved, she says last year was a nightmare. In a recent interview, Michelle said, "When I pronounced a word wrong, they would make fun of me. It made me never want to talk at school." Michelle receives cyber threats on her social media accounts, and people at school called her names. Once, when she tried to stick up for herself during a physical attack, she accidentally ended up punching a teacher and was suspended for 5 days. I went ahead and color-coded the two different examples to show you how adding detail into your writing really helps bring it to life. In the first example, students with disabilities get bullied a lot. Well, the word "a lot" is a very vague word, which means we don't really know the extent of the word "a lot." In the first sentence here, I use something from my research from the British Journal of Learning Support that gives a statistic, 60%, to kind of portray how students with disabilities are bullied more so in comparison to students without disabilities. In the second sentence in the first example, there is a girl who is in middle school and she gets bullied. Again, the reader might have some questions that they're confused about. Well, who is the girl? What middle school does she go to? And why does she get bullied? In the following example here, I name the student, Michelle Mills. I also name the school that she attends. And I also define what she has, which is a speech impediment, and why she gets bullied. In the third sentence from the original, she said that last year it was really hard because she had a speech impediment. I go in to talk more specifically about how she had a really hard time. She discusses that when she pronounced a word wrong, they would make fun of her. And the effect, it made her never want to talk at school. In the last sentence in the original example, I state, people made fun of her and she got into a lot of trouble once. But again, what kind of trouble did she get into? Well, because of the fact that she received cyber threats on her social media account and people called her names, this ended up turning into a physical fight while at school. Because of the physical fight, she ended up accidentally punching a teacher and was suspended for 5 days. Notice here that from the first example to the second example, a lot more questions are answered for the reader because of the statistics, the names, the places, the descriptions, and the quotations. My reader has a better picture of what this social issue looks like. What I'd like to do now is circle back to a word that I used at the beginning of this lesson. What did the author do here? Well, they did something called revision. The author took the time to go back into their writing to beef it up by adding things such as names, places, statistics, quotes, and stories. Again, the reason that we add in this detail is to give the reader a better picture, a full idea of what our social issue is about, and to bring that social issue to life. After some revising, what does the end product look like? Well, the author's writing went from this, a bare bones tree with not very much detail and really not much information at all, to this, a piece of writing that includes much detail. In your writing, you want something that looks like this, something that has details and examples and background information in order to bring your story to life. Let's go ahead and take a look at one more example. This example is based on a topic that we're already aware of, girls being denied education in and around the world. What I'd like to do here is I'd like to just quickly go over the bolded parts. In the beginning of the paragraph, a strong statistic is shown to show how many girls around the world don't attend school. Moving into the second paragraph, it also goes into some research that discusses around the world why children, girls specifically, don't go to school. The author could have simply said, girls don't go to school for a number of different reasons. However, they go into detail with explanations of why girls don't go to school. In the following paragraph, they talked about the fact that people don't believe that education is a right for everyone. Now, we may not understand what that means. So again, the author goes in to describe why people may not believe that education is a right for everyone. Lastly, in the very last paragraph here, the conclusion talks about what people actively try to do in order to deny girls an education. In the bolded print here, it gives specific examples of how girls are denied an education, such as political parties and their rules and laws. It also goes in to talk about some of the examples that we've already discussed in class this year, such as the Taliban, using some quotes and personal stories, such as Malala, in order to make their point understandable. If you'd like to go back and read this excerpt, this example, also known as a mentor text, in full, I have posted it in Google Classroom under this assignment so that you can read it at your own leisure. And so, going back to our presentation here, what did the author do in order to bring her story to life? Well, she added details such as statistics, stories, descriptions, explanations, and quotations. At this point, I hope that you understand how adding details to your social issues author note is going to help bring the story to life and give a full, rounded picture of your social issue to your reader. So, what are some of your next steps? Review the next 2 sections of this Google Form lesson and complete the instructions for each section. You're going to need your notebook open to page W8. The last section will be a formative grade, so be sure to thoroughly read through the directions. At this point, researchers, you are ready to go back in to your document and start revising your author's note for details. Use the notes on page W8 as well as your anchor chart, information writers combine, in order to beef up your author's note. Good luck!